Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to go ahead and call our regular BCC meeting, 2/11/2020 to order. Can I get a roll call, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Chair Roybal. Chair Roybal,
Here.
Commissioner Hanson,
Present.
Commissioner Moreno,
Present.
Commissioner Hamilton,
Here.
Commissioner Garcia.
Here.
Thank you. You're all in attendance.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We're going to go on to item number C, D, and E, and it's the Pledge of Allegiance. From the County Assessor's Office, we have Chris Oakley. The State Pledge will be from the County Assessor's Office, Pedro Armendraz. Is that how you say your last name?
Yes,
Armendraz, okay. Moment of Reflection from the County Assessor's Office, we have Isaiah Romero.
No, you don't.
It's like, have I gotten your name wrong all this time?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico as the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Saluda la bandera del Estado de Nuevo México. El símbolo decía, es amistad perfecta entre culturas unidas.
All right, my name is Ivan Berry. I want to do a prayer for the county today. So, Heavenly Father, thank you for this day and this very moment. We are so thankful for the leaders, managers, and the staff here at Santa Fe County. We ask that you would be with our leaders this afternoon as they make decisions. Give them wisdom on how to best represent everyone in this county. Give our leaders courage. Give them patience and humility as they continue to represent the needs of the people. Help us continue to walk faithfully in our commitment to public service. Finally, thank you for the people, the citizens of Santa Fe County. Give us a heart to continually love and care for them and make decisions to support their concerns. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Sir, can you repeat your name for the record again? I'm sorry, I got it mixed up. It was not Isaiah Romero, but
Right. Ivan Berry.
Ivan Berry. Thank you, sir. I'm going to go to Commissioner Garcia, and then I'll go.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I'd just like to have a little bit of moment of silence for an individual who worked for the county for many, many years, and her name is Lisa Grego, for her father's passing, Mr. Grego out of Tesuque, which we probably read about the sad tragedy incident in the paper. So I would just like to have a moment of silence for Mr. Grego.
And
Commissioner Hanson, you have somebody else?
yes, a longtime friend of mine passed away, which is Alan Schwartzberg. He was a large contributor to many art organizations and a great photographer. And I just want to remember him because he was an important part of our community.
Okay, do we have anybody else from the board mentions? No, okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for those recognitions, and I appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and move on to our next item of business. And this is gonna be the approval of the agenda. Is there any changes or amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, yes, we had a couple of changes. The original agenda was posted a week ago on Tuesday at 2 p.m., but we amended the agenda on February 7th at 4:30 p.m. We added items on page 1 under consent, item 2D. Under miscellaneous items, we added item 4A. On the next page, under matters from the county attorney, item 10, we added 10 A, 2, and 3, as well as item B, 10B. And those are the amendments to the original agenda.
Okay, thank you, Manager Miller. I'm gonna go to Commissioner Hanson.
I would move to approve the agenda with those changes.
Second.
So we have a motion and multiple seconds from Commissioner Hamilton and Commissioner Garcia. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Alrighty, we're moving on to item number 6, and this is the approval of the January 14th, 2020 Board of County Commissioners regular BCC meeting. Commissioner Hanson?
So I have a number of changes to the minutes, which I will give to the stenographer, and I move to approve the minutes with those changes.
Thank you for your motion,
Second.
Commissioner Hanson, and your second, Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, so now we're on to our consent agenda. Is there any items on the consent agenda that need more instruction or anything? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Garcia and a second from Commissioner Hanson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I do want to remind commissioners that we turn on our mics. I did have a request from Kesuave that there's some issues with hearing the board when they're speaking. So I notice there's still a few mics that are off. So if we could remember to turn them on and off, and also help me remind our presenters. Manager Miller?
And Mr. Chair, also these microphones are directional, so if you would speak directly into the front of the microphone, if you turn your head away, it doesn't pick it up as well either.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Hamilton?
Commissioner Manuel's mic won't stay on.
It's blinking out. Can you hear me?
Oh, he can hear you sitting next to you, but I
Chair
Do
Roy
we
Ball.
have technical support that could look at his mic?
Chair
Madam
Roy Ball,
Clerk?
for the record, the resolutions you just passed within the consent agenda are 2020-12 and resolution number 2020-13. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so let's just give a few minutes here for them to change out that mic.
Mr. Chair. Madam Clerk, what were the numbers again? I didn't get a chance to write them down.
12 and 13.
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and proceed now that we have the microphone changed out. Okay, we're gonna move on to item number 3, and these are appointments and reappointments. Request reappointment of Chris Heyer as the primary member and Alex Fitzgerald as an alternate member of the Regional Economic Development Initiative Network, ReadyNet, Board of Directors for the calendar year of 2020, growth management. So, Chris, did you have?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I'm here for Ms. Penny Ellis Green. She was going to do this presentation, but she's tied up. I'm asking for reappointment to the ReadyNet Board. That is an appointment that should be yearly. I have been serving on the ReadyNet Board since 2016, and October 10th of 2019, I was appointed as Secretary Treasurer of the Board. So I would like to remain as a primary member of the board representing Santa Fe County. And I also asked that the Economic Development Specialist that I work with, Alex Fitzgerald, be recommended as a alternate to serve on the board for times that I can't make it a meeting.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Chair?
you.
Well,
I'm gonna go
I
to
think
Commissioner
Hanson.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Commissioner Hanson, and then I'll come to Commissioner Hamilton.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for stepping up and serving as secretary for this board. You know, we haven't had a presentation, I don't think, for a while from ReadyNet. Thank you, Commissioner. Is it possible that we could get a presentation at some point again, or and give us
Mr.
some
Chair.
updates if there are any?
Commissioner Hanson, yes, that's, I will bring that to the board. We have a board meeting this Thursday, and we will put together a presentation, and I will ask when we can be on the agenda.
I'm sure it doesn't need to be immediately, but I think it's always good to be updated on what ReadyNet's doing. People are really concerned about broadband everywhere. And with that, I would like to move to approve that the reappointment of Chris Heyer as primary and Alex Fitzgerald as alternate.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, multiple seconds from Commissioner Hamilton and Commissioner Moreno, and the motion was made by Commissioner Hanson. Under discussion, is there any comments? Okay, just under discussion, relative to what Commissioner Hanson had requested, I'd like to see that we get at least an update, even if it's, 10 minutes or whatever it is, updates monthly, if we can do that.
Yes, Mr.
At least from you, Chris, but not really from the ReadyNet, chair, but at least from you. The other request we did talk about briefly is I want to see if we could put together a task force relative to broadband and fiber in the Santa Fe County, so that we can work on that. So that's just something else that I want to bring up on public record, and also let you know that, reiterate, because we've had that conversation. So,
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Hamilton?
Actually, that's a really interesting point. I don't know what your thinking is about, like, composition of a task force, but I just wanted to add that I have been getting quite a bit of interest shown and questions from constituents in my district about broadband and broadband access, and what the county's doing, and getting updates. So having updates, at least some, would be really useful. And that thinking about broadband in the county in general is becoming really important.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. I'm not sure if Manager Miller would have anything to add to. I know I've had the conversation with her, and she did have some feedback that I thought was really good.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, Chris, one of the things that Chris has been working on is the economic development plan, and I think it would be good to also bring that forward to the board sometime soon, to show them the economic development plan. And one of the things that I had discussed with Commissioner Roybal was whether or not in the economic development plan, what we have in the way of a focus on broadband, and whether that would be an appropriate place for a recommendation for a task force. So
In the economic development plan.
mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
And I did talk to the chair of the ReadyNet, and he is really excited to, hear, and he did ask, of course, right away if he could participate on this board. So at least we have a buy-in from the board chair as well. Is there any other comments from the board? No? Okay. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Mr. Heyer, can you actually help Katie get untied?
Commissioner Garcia, can you turn your...
Can you actually help Ms. Ellsby help her get untied? You said she was tied up, so we just want to make sure.
Okay, it's really bad when you have to explain it. That was good. That was really good.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Garcia.
I didn't want to put that on the mic.
Yeah, really.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to item number 4, and this is a miscellaneous action item, and it's a resolution number 2020. We don't have the resolution number yet, but it's a resolution adopting the Water Policy Advisory Committee's calendar year 2020 work plan and meeting calendar. And I think this is probably a yearly approval, but I'll go ahead and go to Anjali.
Great. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. I was going to say that John Dupuy is also tied up today, but I will say that he is busy.
Good catch.
I'll be presenting in his place. As Mr. Chair said, I'm here today on behalf of the Water Policy Advisory Committee to request approval of their 2020 meeting calendar and work plan. Resolution 2019-95, which you approved last year, updated the purposes and activities of the WPAC, and as part of that resolution, it requires that the committee present an annual work plan and calendar to the board for their approval. The WPAC in the past year has spent a large portion of that year working on exploring options for drought management and planning for the county. This effort brought in experts from other water utilities and explored issues related to drought, such as climate change and planning, potential drought definitions, triggers, and actions. The committee has worked with Utilities Division staff to develop a new work plan for calendar year 2020. And they plan on wrapping up this drought management planning process, as well as to revisit the topic of aquifer storage and recovery, as well as any other backup water supply opportunities that might arise. Provide recommendations to the board on 40 and 80-year water planning, and to do that in coordination with the City of Santa Fe's Water Division efforts of that same topic. Meetings will take place.
Angelique, if we can ask questions as we go along, I'm going to go to Commissioner Hansen.
So, as I was reading this last night, on the drought, I mean, I'm glad that you're working on the drought management plan. I think that's great, but I would like to see it. And then also on the backup water supply. But, you know, I do believe in regional water cooperation, but I am concerned about the way that I am happy that staff is working together with the city, but I feel like we have not been presented with what is intended. And even though I have made an effort to go out and see what the city has in mind, I feel like that is not enough. And before we start moving forward with a 40 and 80-year water plan based on what the city has done, I want to know what we are doing.
Right.
Okay, I don't want to just join forces with the city and say, oh, fine, whatever you're doing, because that doesn't work for me.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Hansen. Commissioner Hamilton?
I think that's a totally fair, important request. And I agree completely. And so so far, the intent of the city to do a 40/80-year plan is a very new one. And there's been, informal discussion, like, what are you guys going to do? And what would be some on a very preliminary discussion, pros and cons of doing stuff together and that sort of thing. But that kind of thing now should be and could be brought to the board. It probably just as an informational thing to start, I would guess.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. Any other comments from the board? Commissioner Garcia?
I agree with both commissioners that we should actually see what our plan is or what we're going to take forward prior to us going and joining up with the city. But I think definitely it's totally important that we actually, the county and the city actually do come together at some point, but we need to see what our plan is. I agree.
I would ditto those comments. I know that we had go ahead, Commissioner.
Oh, I'm
Hamilton.
sorry. No, it was
that's
just
fine.
an additional clarification that being on the work plan doesn't mean they go ahead with it. That it's, the WPAC gathers information for the board. They're not a policy development, right? They're an advisory committee. So it is an information. I think the intent is for it to be informational gathering. So the fact that it's on the agenda is not indicative of, well, the board should have been notified beforehand. It's not a decision to work with the city. It's on there because of the likelihood and the need for them to participate from the county's point of view in gathering information that county board would need to work with the city potentially.
Okay, great. That's good clarification, Commissioner Hansen.
So I just want to reiterate that, and I want an update, and I would like a presentation from the city on their plan so that we have an idea what they really have intended, their intention is, especially since this pipeline is in my district. and it concerns me. And what is the real benefit to the county in that regard? And so I'm all for them working on these plans, but I don't feel like we get any presentations from them of what they're working on. Like, okay, they've been working on the drought management plan. Let's see it. You know, like, where is it? And so those are the kind of things, and it's the same with the 40 and the 80-year plan. It's great that they're working. I want everyone working together. I want us to move forward, but I also want to be informed of what is happening.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, with a few clarifications. So they are planning on putting something together for the work that they've done around drought management. They just weren't quite there yet by the end of the year, so that's why it's on the top of their work plan for this year. That is something, it's a little bit, drought management planning is a little bit tricky in that we're currently tied to the city's drought management plan. And as we work now, anything that the city does in terms of restrictions, the county is required to follow. But within the committee, there was a lot of discussion about, well, that shouldn't be the only thing we do. You know, just because the city does this doesn't mean that we can't do other things. You know, that the county is a much bigger area than the city has to deal with. The county has a lot more private wells and other water systems than the city does. So our drought management was thinking a little bit more broadly about what the county, you know, as Commissioner Hamilton said, they are not a policy-making body. They are not in place to necessarily provide hard policy for the county, but they were looking at what are when the county is in a place that they could write a full drought management plan, because that is beyond the scope of an advisory committee. What might go into that plan? What types of triggers exist? What are other utilities doing? How do we think about climate change going forward in terms of drought? What does drought mean in an era of constantly changing climate, issues like that? And they are planning to put together something to present to the board. That's one, but yeah.
So why are we tied to the city's drought management plan?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Hanson, that is, I believe, part of the amended and restated water resources agreement that we have signed with the city.
Okay.
That is what, it really doesn't say much. It basically says that if the city commits to water restrictions, the county has to have at least that stringent of a water restriction as well. But there's not much to it, so we could definitely do a lot more.
Okay, great. Good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Madam Clerk?
Chair, Roy Ball, Commissioners, I want to mention this for the record. There was a document, a resolution that may be part of all of this, and I have concerns because when the city was looking for this document, there was a portion of that document that was filed in our office that is missing an exhibit, and we don't have that exhibit. And I believe, on my memory, that it was a document that outlined what the city would be doing. We didn't receive that back into our office, but we did file it. And now the city has been looking for that document. So I have concerns about that. Just as today, I do not have in my original folder the resolution or the calendar in my packet. So I have concerns about that. But this is the county.
For what?
For this here, for 4A. I don't have the original resolution in my packet.
For this year or last year?
For this one that was going to be for today, correct?
Oh.
So, for the record, I want you to know there was a document that was the agreement and filed in our office, but there is an exhibit missing, so I have concerns about that as the official record keeper of the county. Okay?
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I know that our Public Works Director just sat down. Did you have something else to add, Mr. Hedon?
Chairman, members of the commission, absolutely. We will track down that resolution. I think it is just floating in the wrong place, and we'll find that before the end of the meeting today. And additionally, we would also be willing to give you an update of all the activities that have happened up until now, and maybe at the next commission meeting, so that you're clear about that, and then we will start to work with the partners about getting a report in front of the body to be able to answer some of these questions for you, if that's acceptable.
That is acceptable. Thank you, Mr. Hedon. Any other questions from the board? Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah. please tell John that we miss him, and I was looking forward to seeing him. I had some other questions, but I will wait until I see him.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Angela, you still have a little bit.
One more thing,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The one last thing I would add, and just to echo Commissioner Hamilton, is that this 40 and 80 year planning is mostly just an idea in all of our heads at this point. It was something that we thought we should put on the work plan because it is something that John believes is important, and I think the city believes is important. My understanding is the city has just begun looking at a consultant to start scoping out what they might want to put in their 40 and 80 year plan. So we are all at a really, really preliminary stage. And we've been talking internally about how the county can and might not work. You know, we probably will not have the exact same plan, but how our plans might fit together and where areas that we might work on together would fit and where they might not, because I think we all do understand that we have some potential policy differences and certainly different priorities and needs.
Thank you for that extra information, Anjali. We just want to reiterate that the commissioners just want to make sure that we, as this evolves, that we are kept in the loop for the whole time. And you guys do a great job of that, but we just want to make sure that we reiterate that.
Understood, thanks.
Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, just for the clerk knowledge, the resolution is on our board docs, but obviously it did not get into your.
Originals is what I
Yeah,
mean.
yeah, I know you need an original, but,
Yes, I see that here.
okay, good.
It's there, but it's not the original.
And that was a great catch. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for being so thorough. Okay, so with that, what is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Hamilton?
I'd like to move to approve this work plan for the WPAC.
So we have a motion for Commissioner Hamilton. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Garcia, Hanson, and Moreno. So we have multiple seconds. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, or is there anything else under discussion? I think we beat this one up pretty good. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you again for being here, you guys.
Thank you.
Chair Roy Ball, for the record, the plan you just approved is a resolution, and the resolution is Resolution 2020-14. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so we're going to move on to item number 5, and this is matters of the public, from public concern. We're here very early today, 30 minutes into our meeting. We've already gotten to this item, so I will probably ask again later on in the meeting. But if there's anybody here from the public that would like to address the commission, please come forward. Okay, so I'll ask one more time.
They're here for the resolution.
Yes. I'll ask one more time. Is there anybody from the public that would like to address the commission? Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna go ahead and close public concern, matters of public concern, but I will reopen a little later in the meeting or towards the end. I'm gonna go on to the next item, which is item number 6, and it's presentations.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to ask that we move that till after executive session so they can try to get the screen to come down.
Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. We might have to do it mechanically. I can't do it. There should be a backup. Okay, so we're gonna go on to item number 7, matters from the county manager. Miscellaneous updates is the first item.
Mr. Chair, I don't have any other miscellaneous updates. I do want to actually bring up one thing though, relative to snow delays and snow days. Had a lot of activity this morning relative to the weather and requests and information about snow delays or snow days. We do not follow as a policy the schools. One, we have several school districts in our county, so it would be hard to say, let's just follow one school district. What we do is Public Works always has crews out early, and they in all five road districts, and they provide information back to the foreman who gets on the phone with Gary and I, and they give me information typically around between 5 and 6 in the morning about the condition of the roads throughout the county, not just one area, but in all areas of the county. And also we get information as to what every school district is doing, what other state entities are doing, and also what other local governing bodies are doing, and take all of that information into account when trying to decide whether we do a delay. Typically, we do a 2-hour delay. That's with the intent that it'll warm up enough that the roads will clear. If it looks like they are not clearing and it's getting worse, usually then before 8 o'clock, we would actually call a day. So we'd call a delay by 6 o'clock, and between like 6 and 6:15, and then by 8 o'clock if we were going to close for the day, because typically people have already gotten on the road if the weather's bad, and we don't want to have them get to work and then find that the county's closed. So I just wanted to give you some information on that. Additionally, the reason we don't follow the schools is that their decision is driven by school buses and school bus routes. Our decision is we are here to serve the public, for people to get permits and to get do county business. If they have to go to pay their tax bill, go into the clerk's office for things. So quite a bit of what we do is to provide a service and to the public. And as long as most of the public is still out and about in the community, we feel obligated to keep the offices open. But I did want to let you know that it's not a decision that's made in a vacuum, without looking at conditions throughout the county as well as safety for county employees. And it's a balance of making sure that employees are safe to get to work, as well as making sure that we're here for the public who want to do business with the county. I just bring that up because I had a lot of questions today. If the schools are closed, why aren't we closed? I think that the state does that. What we did today, Edgewood was particularly bad because of the winds. So we closed the senior center. We closed the Chimayo Senior Center due to issues with staff being able to get to those two centers. So we closed them, but we did not close the county as a whole. But I just wanted to make sure I updated you on that. I try to let you know when we are going to be on a delay or we are going to close, particularly today, since we had a board meeting as well. But, and the other thing is we also look at the weather radar and see whether it's anticipated to drop off or stop snowing versus whether it's going, what it looks like right at that moment. So we're actually currently watching the radar because the storm is due to come back in, and we may end up, depending on what the weather starts to look like, we also let people go home early if it looks like it's going to be more dangerous if it gets colder. So I just want to give you that update. And then the only other update we have is on legislative items, and I'll let Tessa Jo start with that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As you all know, we are in the second half of the legislative session. It's only a 30-day, but that doesn't mean that we haven't been extra busy with everything that is going through committee and making it to the floor. I think most notably what we've been working on in since the last meeting is Senate Bill 110, which amends various sections of the Public Employees Bargaining Agreement. And so there's several issues that have been brought up by New Mexico counties, and we're working with the sponsors of the legislation. That bill went to the Senate Judiciary Committee yesterday and was tabled, which allows us time to work on it. I'm not sure if it'll be a day for us to work on it or during the interim. It really is at the pleasure of the legislature.
Okay.
So I think that's been probably the highlight that we've been working on. We are tracking the changes to PERA, which has different provisions to make the PERA fund whole, especially the state fund. And so we are tracking those as well as the other priorities. The Social Security tax exemption bills that you all voted to support at the last meeting was tabled last week.
Permanently?
I don't think it's permanently. I know that the House
Past the
tax.
end of this session?
Yes, the House Taxation and Revenue, they were very complimentary about the bill to the sponsor, in my opinion, but it created $100 million hole in the budget, and their main question was how that would be filled. So I don't think it's dead. I think it'll come up again.
Mr. Chair.
Next year.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, also typically with tax bills, they frequently get tabled if they have a significant budget impact, because you have to put the whole budget together and then look at whether they've left room for tax initiatives. And so it's pretty standard that individual bills with appropriations in them, as well as any tax bills, will make it to a certain point in hearings and then get tabled until the budget is agreed upon, so that they can then determine whether they have room for any tax initiatives. And also, sometimes they'll set aside a certain portion of budget availability for tax bills, and then it's a negotiation as well as to which of those could move forward that they have room for within that amount of funding. So it's not uncommon for a tax bill to be tabled and that not be the end of it. A lot of times they say tabling is the death of a bill, but that's not necessarily the case with a tax bill. It just depends on what they have in the way of budget availability.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Manager Miller. I'm going to go to Commissioner Hanson.
Have you been following the community solar bill, and has that moved anywhere?
Yes, it has. It's actually gone through 2 committees.
Could you repeat, which I just didn't catch?
I
Sorry.
asked about the community solar bill.
Thank you.
The community solar bill, I believe it did receive a due pass, and it has gone through 2 committees, but I have not seen it go to the floor yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen it on the floor either, so I was just wondering.
Yes.
That's the bill I was going to ask about, so thank you, Mr. Chair.
In addition to the other of the governor's legislative items, the only thing that has made it past both houses is the 2020 census appropriation, and that's for $8 million, and that has gone through both houses.
Okay, thank you for the update. Any other questions from the board? Do we have any on House Bill 5? Any updates?
Actually, I was looking that up, and it appears as though
Mr. Chairman, what's House Bill 5?
It's the gun.
Oh, thank you.
The red flag.
The red
by
flag,
any
yeah.
chance, do you mean Senate Bill 5?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, great. Because House Bill 5 just doesn't have any detail on it. So House Bill 5, there's a Senate Judiciary Committee substitute, and it creates the Extreme Risk Firearm Protection Order Act. The act provides for new civil processes where law enforcement officers can petition district courts to get protective orders against any respondent who possesses a significant danger of causing imminent personal injury to themselves or to others, which would mean that they can, with this warrant, they would be able to go and take their firearm. There's been several amendments to this bill, including caps on monetary damages that can be made when making tort claims against governmental entities. And also that it applies that these removals are temporary and the orders will only last up to a year.
Okay, so we don't know where that bill's at right now?
It is. It is scheduled for House Consumer and Public Affairs Committee this afternoon.
Okay. And I just wanted to, I've had some conversations with our Sheriff Mendoza, and he does have a lot of concerns. And I have some concerns too on as far as liability to the county. I'm not sure if we've had the opportunity to look at whether or not this would be something we need to worry about, but I'd like for us to consider that. I know that Sheriff Mendoza has expressed concerns to me that in regards to this bill.
Also, Mr. Chairman, on that note, at the New Mexico counties, during the legislative breakfast, some of the sheriffs from the southern part of the state actually had some concerns in regards to the issues that you brought up, and also in regards to the storage of the weapons. Where is law enforcement going to store these weapons? Do they need a storage facility? Do they need to be in safe boxes? There's a lot of concerns it seems like the sheriffs throughout the entire state actually have on this bill.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Any other comments from the board? Okay, Manager Miller?
Mr. Chair, so on that, I had something else that you and I had discussed. Right after our last board meeting, the Pathways Shelter asked if we would put forward a letter of sponsorship to, and I think really what they're asking is if we would be the fiscal agent for a request that they were going to put to the legislature to purchase the building that they are putting the shelter in Espanola. And because that wasn't something that they had put a formal request into the board and you had already had the meeting, we couldn't tell them that we could do that. But like other nonprofits who are looking for a fiscal agent to a local government to receive the funds, if those funds are appropriated, this one's a little bit different because it would not be constructing a facility like the recovery center and some of the others where we're actually asked to be the fiscal agent for receiving funds and then contracting for, design and construction of an equipping of a facility that then we lease to a nonprofit. This one was a request that if the legislature, since the building that they're going to have the shelter in is an already existing building, the owner is willing to sell the building to them. Their request was if they were able to obtain the funding, would we be the recipient and purchase the building and then lease to them because they cannot receive the funding directly. So I believe that they will put that on the sheet because they have to actually fill out a sheet for a capital outlay request. But it's up to the board if you want to accept an appropriation like that, just as we did last year with all of the other appropriations.
Thank you for bringing that up, Manager Miller. And I know that this is a really important service that they're providing in the city of Espanola, and it was within my district and in the district, the Santa Fe County. So I think it is a great opportunity to actually help them with the purchase of this building. So I would hope that my fellow commissioners would support this. Commissioner Hamilton?
The presentation that they made was very moving. From what you've said, Manager Miller, it sounds like this would minimize some of our concern. This particular case, because of its nature, the concerns we have in other cases would be minimized, that it's not a huge amount of staff time, so it wouldn't necessarily take up a whole lot of bandwidth that would knock out other projects. So that's what I'm gathering from what you said. Is that true enough, or?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, I think one of the challenges with many of these appropriations is how much staff time will it require for us to commit. I have no idea. My understanding is that this building is worth a couple $1 million. They may not be successful in getting that level of appropriation, but just to let the commission know, it has happened before. The building over on West Alameda that used to be called Women's Health Services that now I think is combined with Southwest Cares is owned by the county, but it was purchased through an appropriation from the state legislature and the governor, and county purchased it and then leases it back to those facilities for providing health care for the indigent. So I would anticipate this would be a similar type of arrangement. I would only caveat that the board make sure that they have an inspection on the building, and that any, so that if we did acquire it, we didn't have a bunch of unknown items that we had to fix on the at the county's expense.
That was actually my second question, so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton and Manager Miller. Commissioner Hanson?
So I know that homelessness is a very serious issue. I would just hope that it's fully funded, for us to take.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Hanson, I don't think that we would be able to purchase it otherwise unless it was fully funded. I mean, otherwise you would have to come up with funding from the county. So that would, if that's a condition that you would want to make, I would think that would be appropriate. I don't think you want to be forced into having to come up with, if it's a $2 million facility and they only appropriate $1 million, I think that's something that the board can most definitely say, we would only acquire it if we can, if the full negotiated purchase price can be acquired through an appropriation.
Okay, Commissioner Garcia?
Mr. Chairman, I think these are the type of projects that the state legislature actually funds that helps out the entire communities. And so I'm okay with Manager Miller moving forward with whatever she needs to do to let the Capital Outlay Legislative Council services proceed forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Also, I think that, with this project in particular, I think that even some of our other entities, particularly Rio Arriba County and the city of Espanola would also probably help with any shortfall as well, because I know that it will benefit all of our communities as a whole. So I'm hoping that we will get the full appropriation, but I guess we'll look at that when we get there and see where we're at. So thank you all for your support.
Yes.
Okay, was that it, Manager Miller?
That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Garcia?
Just really quick, I'd like to thank Manager Miller as well as the team actually for informing us about a reauthorization that we actually did get that changed out for a project that we had in District 3. And then also, do we have that $9 million that was part of the state engineer's office that we still need for the remaining portion of the AMET settlement? Is it in there? Yes, no?
I believe that was going to be placed in the capital outlay bill, and I will get you a copy of that.
Thank you.
Mr.
Thank
Chair,
you.
but on that point, Commissioner Garcia, we did work with the state and the legislature on proper language for additional appropriation.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So thank you guys for your report. I appreciate it. I do want to also thank Manager Miller for the information she provided relative to snow day closures and tardy and late starts. I think it's really imperative that we do, and I can understand staff bringing up the request for the county to close or have a 2-hour delay whenever the schools do. I know that there's probably staff that have children that are second and third grade that they wouldn't be able to stay home by themselves. So I can appreciate that, and I feel bad that we can't accommodate that sometimes. But I know that those are decisions that the manager has to make. I just do want to reiterate and just ask one more time that as far as public service over public safety, I want to make sure that we're taking care of our employees and even the general public. I mean, if the roads are too bad to drive on, then I think if the county does close and closes early enough, it would be best for not only our staff but also the general public. So Manager Miller, once again, thank you for your diligence. Any other comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, you did remind me of something as well. We do work with staff, any staff that feel that they cannot drive, they're not required to come in. They have to take their leave if we're not an administrative leave by being delayed or closed. But clearly we work with non-essential staff. If they feel it's unsafe for them to come in, they usually will work with their supervisor to, schedule an additional delay if they need that. But for the most part, we work really hard to be sure that the roads are as clear as possible and that employees will be safe getting to work.
Thank you, and thank you for providing that option. I think, as a county, we don't really have control over, the city or state highways, but at least we are in charge of the county highways, which I think our crews do a great job maintaining. So thanks again. So we're gonna go ahead and move on. Okay, so next we're gonna move on to item number 8, and these are matters from commissioners. Is there any commissioners that have any comments? Commissioner Hansen, I'll go to first.
So I wanted to mention that February 6th was Suffrage Day. I want to mention that February 6th, 2020 was Suffragette Day, and myself and Clerk Salazar were both in attendance at the Roundhouse when there was a presentation. Women got the right to vote 100 years ago this year. I am also bringing forward a proclamation in August. There's a large celebration of the women's right to vote. I'm grateful to see that there are at least 2 women on the county commission, and we have a great manager. Women's right to vote has moved us forward in this world and in this country, and I would just want to make sure that people remember that and how important it is that everybody have the right to vote and have access to voting.
And county clerk.
And our county clerk. And so without the women's right to vote, when my mother was born in 1915, she did not have the right to vote. And so it is really, I am the first generation in my family who has the right to vote.
Born into it.
And
She earned it.
she earned the right to vote, and she got the right to vote, but when she was born, she did not have the right to vote. And so I think it's 100 years is not very long. And so I just wanted to bring that up. I think there was, that's all I'm going to say for right now, but thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Hansen, and thank you for bringing that up. It is, like you said, a very short time, but I'm really grateful that we have those laws did change and that we have equal rights for women throughout our nation. I think it was a long time coming, and thank God for that. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments or announcements from the board? Commissioner Garcia.
Mr. Chairman, I would just like to, for those individuals that get up at 4:30, actually 3 o'clock in the morning, to make sure that the individuals that go through our county roads and the roads are actually cleared. And so we'd just like to thank our county road department, our maintenance staff for actually getting out there, because a lot of times people don't realize these gentlemen and ladies are actually out there up at 3 o'clock in the morning on the road at 4:30. I talked to my aunt during the last snowstorm. My aunt goes to work at 3:30, and at 5:30, and said, "Oh, the roads were clear." I was like, great. So just like to thank our maintenance crew out there. Thank you. And also, just really quick, we had a breakfast in La Cienega. There's roughly about 90 to 100 people there last Saturday. It was really, really the best turnout that they've ever had, and it was a good turnout. And so I just want to thank the volunteers and the individuals, Carl Dickens and company, and the La Cienega Valley Association Board, and all the volunteers once again that put that breakfast together. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Okay, any other comments from the board? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go in and close item number 8A. This is Commissioner issues and comments, and I'm going to go on to item number 8B, and this is a resolution supporting House Bill 223, the Agricultural and Natural Resources Trust Act. And we're going to go to Commissioner Hamilton and Commissioner Hansen.
You guys can come up here if you want to. Thank you. So Commissioner Hansen and I are putting forth this resolution in support of House Bill 223. In my mind, this is such an important forward-looking piece of work, given that we live in an arid state, that climate change is a huge issue, and that people are not so surprised when you say, well, we need to be concerned about water conservation, but they are surprised at what a close connection there is between our ability to retain water and how we and what condition our land is in. And that it's just such an iterative, tight little circle to have climate change and all kinds of human impacts, including poorly managed ranching, because there are a huge number of ranchers who are very, very cognizant of good practices and put out effort in that regard. But the point is that we have so many issues with respect to the condition of our land that will be made worse by climate change, and those impact our ability to be resilient in the long term with respect to water and drought, water availability and drought. We do have people who are experts on this and who are carrying this fight here if commissioners have questions. Unfortunately, I think we just learned that this bill may have been killed in committee. I still feel very, very strongly about bringing this resolution forward. Even if we then have to spend the year working on this, I think this is something that's so important to Santa Fe County and the whole state. I think this at least has the value of bringing it to the commission's attention. I can't tell you, as I've started learning about this from Leslie Allison and started thinking about it and bringing it to people in my district, the level of interest in this that seems to be taking hold, which I find very encouraging. I hope Leslie and her group find that encouraging. I am anyway. In any case, that's why we felt we really wanted to bring this forward. And I guess with that, I'll pass it to Commissioner Hansen, and then maybe we can get a few words from the experts who attended.
Thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. And I'm going to go to Commissioner Hansen, and then also Commissioner Garcia I'll go to after. Commissioner Hansen?
Yeah, I'm supportive of this. It is going to, thank you so much for the microphone reminder. Agricultural and natural resources is what New Mexico is about. We have beautiful natural resources. We have a great agricultural industry here that we want to support. And so making sure that we're thinking about them in the long term is really important. So I was honored and happy to co-sponsor this resolution. And just because something gets tabled in a 30-day session should not be in any way made to feel like we're not making progress, because we got it heard, and we know if it did get tabled, we know what the issues are, and we can start working on those issues to resolve them for the 60-day session. So after living here for over 45 years, I'm well aware of how long it takes to sometimes get something through the session. So with that, I will go to my fellow commissioner here, Garcia.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you for bringing this forward. Actually, this is really interesting. At our breakfast on Saturday, we had a group from, I think, the State of New Mexico Geology Department, and they had some grants where they were doing an informational item regarding cienagas throughout the entire state. And there's actually 3 cienagas that are still alive and really happening and still have water. And then one of them is La Cienega. There's another cienega in Roswell, and I actually forget where the 3rd cienega is. And a lot of the other cienegas throughout the state have actually are drying up, unfortunately. And this is actually a really good bill. And once again, thank you for bringing this forward. If you look at under problem item number 1, which is ancient acequias. acequias are very, very viable to definitely northern New Mexico and the southern part of the state, as well as some other communities in San Miguel County. And unless you actually have dealt with acequias, and some people have and some people haven't, but it's very important, viable water resources to the community. So once again, commissioners, thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Hamilton, and Hanson. Commissioner Moreno, did you have anything to add? Not at this time. I just want to ditto the remarks and just say that I am in support of Bill 223 as well. And I really appreciate the hard work, but if as the other commissioner stated, if this does get tabled, we're willing to work with you so that we can get ready for the next session. So we have do I hear a motion yet? I don't think I heard a motion.
Well, I guess, or am I allowed to make a motion if I brought it forward? I'd like to move for this resolution to
Absolutely.
be approved.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a commissioner.
And under discussion, can I ask a quick
Absolutely.
question? Do other commissioners want to hear like just a couple of brief minutes from Leslie or who?
Sure. I think that after we do a vote, we can actually, if we can get some
I thought-
feedback, if that's okay.
Sure. Oh, of course. I just
Okay.
wasn't sure procedurally.
Yeah, I mean, we could, I think either one, is that correct, Greg? We can have a.
Thought we
should
had to do
have
it under
a
discussion.
Presentation before.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I think you can proceed in either manner. If you feel that you have enough information to make a decision, then by all means call the vote. If the board would like to hear information from members of the public who were present before making that decision, then that would be perfectly appropriate as well, in my opinion.
Okay, so we do have a motion from Commissioner Hamilton and a second from Commissioner Hanson, and they're the ones who brought this resolution forward. And once again, I want to thank them for that. So I'm going to go ahead and allow comments under discussion before we take the vote.
Does this work? Yes. Thank you. Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you so much for considering the resolution, for bringing that forward. It's very encouraging. It was disappointing to see it die in committee today. That's not for lack of enthusiasm for the bill. In fact, it was almost unilateral enthusiasm for the concept. So I think we are going to see a very robust effort going forward next year. It's really more around the details. So many people want a piece of this because they're excited by it, that it's really about coming to resolution on how we fit everybody's interests in together. But we were very encouraged by the support and by the coalition that came together. It was really, I've grown up, I'm a native Santa Fe and New Mexican, and I've never seen a coalition come together of the shape that this has taken. We had groups sitting at the table that have never sat down at the table together before, because everybody recognizes that New Mexico's land and water is critical to our future, and that we all have that common interest. And so I do think this is going to be successful in a very significant visionary way for New Mexico. And the counties are going to be an important voice going forward in working this bill out in the next year. And your leadership here will be tremendous help to that. So really just appreciate you guys coming forward with this. Wanted you also to know that the Acequias were there, stand up in support of the bill today. We had tribes there, Acoma and Taos Pueblo. We've had Tezuki, I think, came forward on it. We have Santa Clara signed on. The Indian Nations Conservation Alliance signed on. So we've really got quite a broad spectrum of sportsmen, conservation groups, Rocky Mountain Farmers Union, landowners, and so forth. I think there's a list of supporters that Commissioner Hanson has that we passed off earlier. So anyway, that's all I want to say. We remain very, very optimistic going forward.
Thank you so much for that. I did want to ask if you can state your name for the record. I don't believe we did.
I apologize.
Okay.
My name is Leslie Allison. I'm the executive director of the Western Landowners Alliance, and we're based here in Santa Fe.
Thank you, Leslie.
Yes.
And my name's Dan Roper. I work with an organization called Trout Unlimited, and thanks for an opportunity just to say a few words in support of both your resolution, but also this bigger concept that we're working on at the legislature. I too am disappointed we didn't get it done this session, but I also recognize that when you're looking to do something really substantial, it's difficult to do it in a 30-day session. It's difficult to do it in any session. If we're successful, this will be the single largest investment in New Mexico's land, water, and natural resources in the history of the state. It would create a dedicated permanent funding source, which is often the piece that's missing. So this work can happen every year in every county, and every program was kind of the model we use for this program. States like Oregon, other states that have these sorts of programs, we've seen their success. The pace and scale of the restoration that can take place, the rivers, the forests, the wetlands, is really remarkable. I think it would be game-changing in New Mexico. It'll occur at a scale where people will actually start talking about a restoration economy, because so many people are employed in actively restoring the health of our land and water. So we think this would be a really great thing for New Mexico. We really appreciate your support now, and we'd love to work with you again moving forward, because we're all fully committed to getting this done, hopefully next year. We have a lot of support, and I really think we have an opportunity to get it done next year. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to go to Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, so thank you for coming. I'm encouraged also by the list of supporters that you have, and by next year we can have more, and you'll have us on your list of supporters. And I just want to encourage you to stay for our next resolution, because I think you will be interested in that also.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hanson. Commissioner Hamilton?
I just wanted to thank you for coming also. It really is meaningful, and that effort shows, what it's just a little piece of what it's taken for you to get this kind of coalition. But I really and I appreciate the things you chose to say. I think those were really the critical thoughts and pieces of information. Really look forward to working more on this.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Hamilton. I couldn't agree more. Once again, we do have a motion and a second. And just to reiterate, this is on House Bill 223, the Agricultural and Natural Resource Trust Act. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Madam Clerk, can we get a resolution number?
Yes, Chair Roybal, for the record, the resolution you just passed is Resolution 2020-15. Thank you.
We'll definitely get you a copy of the resolution signed.
Thank you again for being here. Okay, next we're going to move on to item number 8C. And this is a resolution recommending reform of the 1872 mining law to protect public lands and local economies and supporting the Handock Leasing and Reclaiming Act 2019. And we have Commissioner Hanson.
Hard Rock.
Hard Rock.
So,
I have my glasses on.
So this is a resolution to reform the 1879 mining law, and I felt like it went along with our recent SLDC amendment to the Hard Rock Mining Ordinance. And this is to expand protection of our federal public land, require operation and reclamation standards to protect waterways, and establish an abandoned mine cleanup program funded by a reclamation fee, and charge a federal royalty for extracting minerals. So I'm grateful to Christella, who did a tremendous amount of, she wrote me one really great one-page overview, because I did not want anything to conflict with our own FLDC. And she was very clear and said that it only enhanced what we are already doing here in Santa Fe County. So this is going through Congress right now. It is from 2019, and it will protect our air, water, and land. And it resolves that reforming the 1879 mining law would help to protect our public lands, water resources, wildlife and fish population, and recreational activities that support our local economies from mining activities and pollution, and includes robust stipulations for consulting with local governments in the planning process of hard rock mining, minerals, leasing, and extraction. So with that, I would like to move to approve this resolution.
Second. Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Madam Clerk, can we get a resolution number?
Yes, Chair Roy Ball, for the record, the resolution you just passed is 2020-16. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. So we're gonna move on to item number 9, and this is matters from other elected officials. Did you have anything for us today, Madam Clerk?
I do, thank you. Okay. I want to emphasize again, as you mentioned earlier, the importance of broadband, but especially for elections. It's important that we have good internet service for elections and secure broadband. In addition to that, I'd like to mention, I think I've mentioned this several times, is that for the county to consider hardwiring all of the Santa Fe County properties where we locate voting convenience centers. That would help us tremendously with security. We do work with many different entities, the schools, libraries, and on. And so we always have to go check for connectivity. But hardwiring, such as like the Nambe Community Center, would be great, because that is one voting convenience center where the system goes up and down because of the location. In addition to that, I want to mention that we are coming up to the primary election. And so I'm going to outline some issues, not everything, but just so that the public is aware. For the primary election, voter registration closes Tuesday, May 5th at 5 p.m. There will be absentee in-person voting at the county clerk's office May 5th through May 30th, and we'll have the same hours of early voting from 12 to 8 p.m. at night at the other alternate sites, but at the county clerk's it will be during regular business hours. The only day we won't be open for early voting at the clerk's office will be Monday, May 25th. In observance of Memorial Day. In addition, with the alternate sites, we will have 6 or possibly 7 early voting sites, because I have the community from the southern part of the city wanting an early voting site. We've been looking at the numbers, so I am considering that. But at the alternate sites, early voting will begin May 16th through May 30th, and the hours will be from, as I mentioned earlier, from 12 noon to 8 p.m. Tuesdays through Friday, and on Saturdays from 10 to 6 p.m. So that's the information I'd like to share with the public and with all of you. In addition to that, yes, I want to mention that women fought for the right to vote and won the fight to win the vote. It wasn't granted to them. They fought. Many women sacrificed even their lives to across our nation for the right to vote. Also, with regards to ERA is the Equal Rights Amendment. It has passed in New Mexico, the Equal Rights Amendment in 1973, but what has not passed is at the federal level. And we've been seeing that's coming closer and closer, and now women are demanding at the federal level that they also pass ERA. But New Mexico was way ahead of many states, where in 1973 it was passed, ERA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk, for all that information. Okay, so next we're going to move on to item number 10, and these are matters from the county attorney. If we can get a summary of what we need to go into executive session for.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, the executive session is requested for claims arising from boards and commissions on which county elected officials or employees serve as directors or members, dispute concerning joint powers agreement, and in re GSE bonds antitrust litigation, case number 1:19-CV01704. And all of those fall under the provision of the Open Meetings Act, allowing for executive or closed sessions concerning threatened or pending litigation in which Santa Fe County is or may become a participant, and the statutory site is section 10-15-1H7 and MSA 1978.
Thank you, Attorney Schaefer. I'm going to go to Commissioner Garcia.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to take us Board of County Commissioners into executive session as a motion.
Second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Garcia and a second from Commissioner Hansen. Can I get a roll call, please?
Chair Roy Ball?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton?
Yes.
Commissioner Moreno?
Yes.
Commissioner Hansen?
Yes.
Commissioner Garcia?
Yes.
All in attendance, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, we're in executive session.
I don't know what we're doing.
We have
Second.
a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a
Mr.
a
Chairman.
second by
And
Commissioner
specifying
Hamilton.
that
Just also just to discuss that we are coming out of executive session, or however, no action was taken in executive session.
Thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Garcia. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 And then I want to make a motion.
Motion
Or-
carries. Okay, so we're gonna go to Commissioner Hanson.
I want to make a motion delegating to the county manager authority to sign claim forms on behalf of Santa Fe County in GSE bonds, antitrust litigation, case number 1:19.
Second.
CV-01704 JSR.
Sorry.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you for that, Commissioner Hanson. It was a tongue twister. And so we have a motion from Commissioner Hanson and a second from Commissioner Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
And Mr. Chair, I think based on the numbering before the clerk, Mr. Chair, based on the numbering from the clerk earlier, I think that's going to be resolution number 2017.
2017. Thank you, Manager Miller.
Yeah, we just passed a resolution.
Okay, if we could just get for the record, Madam Clerk, was the last resolution we passed, what's the number for that?
Chair Roybal, for the record, the resolution you just passed is 2020-17. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, so we're gonna go on and move on to our last item. For the evening, it's a presentation, so we're going back to item number 9A. And this is the communication plan update, Meet Santa Fe County. And from the county manager's office, we have Daniel Frescus, Carmelina Hart, and
Lisa Katonic.
Lisa Katonic. Actually, I wasn't sure if she was staying or getting up. Okay, thank you, Lisa. Okay, Carmelina, would you
Thank
like
you,
to start?
Chair, Commissioners. My name is Carmelina Hart. I'm the Communications Coordinator with the county. As Commissioner Roybal said, we have Lisa Katonic, who is the Marketing Coordinator, and Daniel Frescus, the Media Coordinator, and we are the communications team. We're the working communications team within the county that's been working on the communications plan and on the new logo. In November, we revealed the new logo in conjunction with the ribbon cutting of the new building. That was that was the first phase of our communications plan. And what we had found in doing some research was that there were a lot of different logos in the county, and not one overwhelming logo that everyone could kind of look to and know that it was the county. So we kind of wanted to lasso in all of the different logos that were being presented through the county, through different departments, and the services that were being provided. So we were able to come up with one logo that was very Santa Fe County-ish. It provided, encompassed art, it encompassed architecture, and it encompassed the environment as well, which were all really important aspects when we were talking to people and talking to people that worked here with the county, talking to people that were from the county to bring that all together. Now, this is the second phase that we are working on, and one of the other, this kind of continues with the ideas of different services are being provided, but people didn't know that it was Santa Fe County that was actually providing those services. So now we have an outreach and a promotional campaign that we're running to let people know what services we provide. So we have two aspects of this campaign. One of them consists of radio spots, and those are running on Que Suave, and also the videos, and those are running through Hutton Broadcasting. With the Que Suave audio radio spots, we have 24 15-second spots. 12 are female voiced, 12 are male voiced. They're running 4 times a day on Que Suave throughout the day. They just cycle through. The listening area that Que Suave covers is Santa Fe, Rio Arriba, Los Alamos, Sandoval, Bernalillo, and parts of Mora and San Miguel counties. And the frequencies for Que Suave are 99.9 FM and 810 AM. So we have 2 spots for you guys today.
So the audio is coming from the little box underneath.
Over here
yeah,
somewhere.
Right there. So it's not going to be too great, but we'll see what we can work with, I guess. Oops.
Did you know you can pay your taxes, apply for a permit, and get married all in one place? The new County Administrative Complex is a one-stop shop located at 100 Canton Street, right across from the Convention Center. Meet Santa Fe County at Santa Fe County and
Right, and that was, here's the email address.
Did you know Santa Fe County Senior Services Division delivers over 3,000 meals monthly to seniors in our community? That includes lunch, dinner, and weekend meals to those who could not eat otherwise. Meet Santa Fe County at santafecounty.nm.gov.
So we went along with this Meet Santa Fe County to kind of introduce Santa Fe County to people. We have, again, 24 different spots. They feature fire information, the new building information, where we're located, senior services, solid waste. So we kind of tried to fixate on different aspects of the county that you wouldn't normally know was part of the county, like solid waste and how much recycling and trash that we take care of on a daily basis. The second part of this is the videos. So there are 2 30-second videos and 4 15-second videos that will be running every 30 minutes on 72 screens around the county. And in addition to that, we also have a social media campaign through Facebook, Instagram, that are running these ads as well. And they're video ads that are running. They were produced by Hutton Broadcasting. And within the first 2 weeks of this campaign online, we had 22,511 views just on these videos alone running through social media. So people are actually clicking on it and watching the videos. We have 1 30-second and 1 15-second video that is completed. So as the next month rolls through, we'll get the second round done. And then they'll just keep circulating around through these videos. There's 72 screens, Hutton screens around Santa Fe County.
Okay, thank you.
We get to see them.
Okay. I do have one quick question. Are these videos and the ads in Spanish as well, or are they just in English?
They are all in English.
Here's the 30 second.
So Chairman, Commissioners, those were the videos are actually playing around the mall, at restaurants, at the hotels, at the airport. So they're all over the county right now. So you guys looked a little confused. So I thought I would explain where the videos. Or yes. Videos. But do you have any questions about what we're doing, where we're going?
From the board, I'm going to go to Commissioner Garcia. I saw his hand go up earlier, and then I'm going to go to Commissioner Hanson.
Really quick, I have, Mr. Chairman, I have seen the ads, actually having dinner and seeing the ads, and I always wondered when the county was actually going to get an ad place up there, but I think they look very good. They look very well. Regarding the Hutton broadcasting station, what radio station is that? Because they have 5 or 7 different stations. What's the dial?
So Chairman, Commissioner Garcia, the Hutton is just video.
Okay.
So they are only doing the online videos and the screens throughout the county. The radio is through Quesuave.
And just speaking of Quesuave, KSWV, actually, that's actually a very good station. One of the stations in the city that actually gets a lot of public information out to the general public. That is a bilingual station, as Commissioner Roybal mentioned. Possibly, maybe we can do at least an ad or 2 in Spanish.
Yeah,
And so
Chairman,
that actually
Commissioners,
would be
absolutely. Yes, I will
I always
note that.
I always refer to my grandma, as in my grandma doesn't have the social media that everybody's doing except me, and so my grandma listens to the station. So how do you get the elderly that listen to the station to know what Santa Fe County does?
Chairman, Commissioners, if they are listening to the station, then you will hear it through audio.
And one of the other things I would like to see is like a good example is for our DWI. Whenever our DWI has an ad on the radio and or regarding DWI, I would actually like to see if we could actually have the sheriff on there and or a commissioner on there, as into this is just want to let you know, or a commissioner with your guys' ad to some degree. But just kind of food for thought.
Chairman, Commissioner Garcia, absolutely. And they do some radio advertising. The Sheriff's Department and Community Services through DWI do have their own contracts. So that wasn't necessarily a part of this communications plan, but they do use that medium.
Right. So my whole point of that is actually if we can actually get the sheriff and maybe Manager Miller can talk with Community Services Department, because I realize they're 2 different broadcasting, advertising, marketing. And so if we can just get the word out to them, maybe we can have a commissioner. I've heard Commissioner Hanson on the radio many times. And so I think it's really good for us to promote the county as you all are doing. But thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Commissioner Hanson?
Yeah, so as Commissioner Garcia says, I'm out in the community, and I actually have constituents say to me, "Oh, I hear you on the Richard Eve show all the time," and I'm only on there twice a year, maybe, and so I think it is good to have commissioners. But will you start going out to other radio stations like SFR, the local, our local station? Another local station out at the radio, out at the community college, KSFR.
Yes, Chairman, Commissioners, we will reach out to other radio stations as well. This was just the first phase of the advertising campaigns.
Yeah, I think I have said to the manager that, we need to tell people what we're doing here in Santa Fe County, because people do not know, and so I'm happy to see this. I think it's really important. The more we can let them know that the services that we provide, because a lot of our constituents also are city residents, and they have no idea the vast products that we have in Santa Fe County that we provide to everybody. So, yes, so thank you very much.
Chairman Commissioner Hanson, thank you. That was something that we discovered early on, and that was really part of the communications plan was, again, with all the different logos and all the different services, to bring it back to Santa Fe County because we do provide quite a few services, and we wanted to let people know. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. I think that you guys made some really valid points. I think, it might not be a bad idea to have a face associated with the voices that sometimes people hear on the radio. So thank you for those points. Is there any other questions from the board? I'm going to go to Madam Clerk.
I'm mentioning the following because I am an elected official and I also run elections. I think it's important that you don't put any of us elected officials, our faces on any of this. I don't want the county to be accused about electioneering, promoting any of us that run for an office. I think that's very important. Radio, that's a little different. But any kind of photography or filming of us, I think wouldn't be for the benefit of the county or taxpayers.
Chairman, Commissioners, Madam Clerk, one of the things we really, really wanted to focus on was keeping these as evergreen as possible. So we could run these for however long that we needed to run them without having to re-record anything or even refilm anything. So we did consciously think about keeping them very, very evergreen and not focusing on any elected official, not focusing on any employee in particular, and really just talk about the services that Santa Fe County
Absolutely
provided.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any other questions from the board? Okay, I want to thank you guys for the great presentation. Great job.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, I'm not sure if there's a spot on there for me, sorry. Okay, so we're going to go on to our next items. We have item number 13, which is concluding business. 11 and 12 didn't have anything on the agenda tonight. Are there any announcements from the board that they would like to share with the public?
Be careful in the, please be careful in the snow and in the weather.
Thank you, Commissioner Hanson. That's absolutely right. We need to be cautious and careful so we take care of one another. Any other comments? Okay, with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying bye.
Bye.
That was good.
Chair Roybal.